The Michael Berry Show.
Finally got Nazario on the line. This is the nice fella that over the weekend went out to Camp Hope and was providing haircuts for our veterans, and he himself is a veteran of the United States Marine. And I thought that was really cool. And I just want to have him on and love on him a little bit and talk about his business and why he does that. Nazario,
Hi, good morning.
how are you?
I'm doing good, sir.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
Okay, so first of all, tell me how you got into the Marines.
At the age of 19, I'm from a small border city called Eagle Pass, Texas. Joined the Marine Corps and moved out to California, and got stationed in 29 Palms.
Did you go to Iraq?
I did 4 years. I did Iraq, sir. Yes, sir. I did Iraq in 2008.
Ooh. That was the surge, right?
Yeah. No, it was a little bit after. It was the transition zone into OEF. So I was part of OIF. And then when we came back, it was a transition going into OEF, and then started training for Afghanistan.
And did you go to Afghanistan?
No, sir. We got taken off the rotation at that time. I went ahead and re-enlisted for another term, and I got orders to go to Japan. So that was a good time.
You know, I just went to Japan at Christmas. I had never been. I've always been fascinated by Japan, but I've really, really dug in on modern Japan over the last couple of years, and their fierce nationalism and their ability to commercialize systems and their hierarchical structures of society and their Shinto Buddhism and how those two came together. And it's really, really, really interesting. And my wife and my kids, all four of us individually enjoyed it. And on the way back, we stopped in Maui because my son Michael T is a big fan of Hawaii, and my executive producer Chad Nakanishi is from Hawaii, and I'm not a beach guy. So for me, the highlight of the trip was Japan. But for my oldest son, it was Maui. It's just, people go to Maui for this great vacation. A lot of people think it's the greatest vacation spot in the world. For me, it's not in my top 100 because I'm not a beach person. But Japan, yeah. I will go back to Japan. I will go back again and again. There's so many things I still want to do there.
Nice.
What's that?
Yeah, Japan is really nice.
And so
culture, everything, food.
The food. I loved the food. I loved the people. Although my wife said she had a crick in her neck because she would get into this endless loop of bowing. They bow and you bow back, and they bow to you bow, and you can't get out of it. I found the people to be very, very interesting and very gracious. It's like the whole country went to, here's how to treat tourists school. Hold on just a second, Nazario. I want to talk about your barber business.
With his finger on the pulse, the King of Ting continues on the Michael Berry Show.
Nazario, I want to say thank you for doing what you did for our veterans, your fellow veterans, at Camp Home this past weekend. And I would like you to tell a little bit about your business, the Barber Effect. Let me start by saying I had a listener, I guess, who knows you or is a client of yours, tell me that during COVID, because couldn't open the shop, you got resourceful and you started doing like the people who come and groom your dog. You started going to your clients. Tell me how you survived through COVID.
So through COVID, sir, it helped me when I was out in Hollywood and Beverly Hills, going and doing house calls, getting the experience out there. Moved out here to Houston, and COVID hit. So what I used to do is I used to take my own chair, used to take my own professional photography lights, and I would set up a small little barbering area in the luxury of your home or office space. It was a pretty interesting time because, during COVID, a lot of people didn't want me inside their home, so we would do it on the back patio. Sometimes with really nice houses, nice views, and sometimes in the garage. But
how was
overall,
that different? How was that different for you? How was the actual cutting experience? Obviously, you have to navigate traffic, but how did you find that to be different, better, worse, or just in some way different?
It was it just adapting to everybody's different setting in their home. It made it fun. Made people feel a lot more comfortable with looking good again, being able to have the barber come to their home. It's just a different setting. It's a different office space every day. And
So
to me, that's what was fun.
my trainer, Michael Petru, had been training when I met him for, I think, 17 years. He had been at the Houstonian for, no, I'm sorry,
Okay.
he's been training now for over 30, he's been training now for 32 years. When I met him, he had spent 17 years at the Houstonian, which is a really nice club, not a country club per se, more of an athletic club, but with a country club vibe. And he'd done 17 years of that, and he went out on his own, and he'd been out on his own at that point for, say, 7 or 8 years. I don't know how many. And his deal was there were a lot of people, especially older people, who don't want to go join a club. They don't want to be around a bunch of meatheads. They don't want to watch, the meat market that is guys and girls hooking up. They don't want to watch some guy, dropping the weights on the ground or some girl preening because she's, an Instagram influencer, and that he could go to their houses and train them there. And so that might be their garage, it might be their bedroom, might be their living room. And eventually he would go and he'd start with the wife, and the husband would notice results, and so he'd start, and then the neighbors, and it has grown. I guess we've been together for 5 years, and it has grown into something he never dreamed it would be, how successful, and the stories. And now he's even, companies will say, my C-suite, you're going to come and train all my chief financial officer, my chief marketing officer. But the whole point of that is to go into the house. My wife has a lady, we started all this during COVID. My wife has a lady who comes to the house named Honey. She's fantastic. She's wonderful. She's a Vietnamese lady. She's like family. And she comes to the house and does my wife's nails. And when she brings Vietnamese food to us, and we all sit and chat with her, and she burns time just hanging out with us because she's like family. She's not just doing that. But my wife gets massages at the house. Everything coming to us makes it so that we don't have to be away from our kids. We don't have to burn our gas. We don't have to be at risk of a carjacking. So I would think that would be a neat deal. Now, do you still do that, or do you have a shop now?
Right now, I have a shop in Spring, Texas. It's actually a mobile barbershop. It's a 36-foot gooseneck car hauler that I transformed into basically a traveling barbershop.
I love that.
A few years ago, it's super nice. I like it. I'm able to be everywhere. For my house call operation, I still do some house calls in the local area, but right now, currently, with the volume that I have in the barbershop, I have to plan out like 1 or 2 months in advance to be able to go do a client at their house. Right now, I do wedding events. I do bachelor parties. I go to Camp Hope. I go to retirement homes. I go do back to school events. So that's more of the house call outside of the barbershop experience for the Barber Effect. Right now, I do service a 97-year-old World War II Marine veteran at a retirement home, which, as a matter of fact, I need to give them a call today to be able to set their appointment up for next week. But yeah, I still do house calls, but it has to be planned out so it can fit in the calendar.
Who did your website?
One of my clients.
A lot of people wouldn't like it. They'd say it's too busy, but I like it. It's very visually pleasing to me.
Thank you. What I try to do is, because there's two versions. There's a version for the computer, and then there's the version for the phone.
Yeah.
So what I try to create on the phone is, I got very little time for someone to be able to be interested in it, and I just try to simplify it. The way I try to advertise myself is who I am, what I do, how to find me, and that way I can try to get that person to come check out the barbershop. I try to service a lot of the veterans in our community. I'm constantly trying to become a better part of the community. I like to advertise to all the veterans and their families and all the supporters. I want to make my barbershop the go-to place for a veteran, even if they don't need to get a haircut. It's a place where they can come hang out and feel. I mean, it's the best feeling to be able to be around our own brothers and sisters. Especially getting out of the Marine Corps, getting out of the service, it's challenging. For example, me, I'm here in Houston. All my family is back at home in Eagle Pass in San Antonio, but I create family with all the veterans in my network, and that's what keeps me going, you know.
It's really cool, Nazario. That is really cool. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for doing that, buddy. It's The Barber Effect. It's located at 4625 FM 2920 in Spring. You can find them online at thebarbereffect.com.
From Portland to Albany and all great cities in between, The Michael Berry Show is nationwide.